The December wind whipped across the rooftop of the downtown office building as Marcus Thompson pushed through the heavy metal door, seeking escape from another disastrous board meeting. His company, once a thriving tech startup that had employed over 200 people, was 48 hours away from complete collapse. The investors had pulled out, the banks had called in their loans, and tomorrow he would have to stand in front of his employees and tell them that their paychecks would be their last. At 32, Marcus had thought he understood failure. He'd weathered product launches that flopped, partnerships that dissolved, and competitors who'd stolen his best ideas. But this was different. This wasn't just his dream dying. It was the livelihoods of people who'd believed in him, trusted him, followed him into what was turning out to be professional suicide. The rooftop had always been his refuge, a place where he could think clearly above the noise of the city. Tonight, however, he wasn't alone. A young woman stood near the edge of the building, her long dark hair whipping around her face as she stared down at the street 23 floors below. Even from behind, Marcus could see the gentle curve of her belly beneath her thin coat. She was pregnant, probably 6 or 7 months along. Marcus froze, his own problems suddenly seeming insignificant. The woman's posture, the way she gripped the low concrete barrier, the utter stillness of her body despite the wind, everything about the scene sent alarm bells screaming through his mind. "Don't jump," he said, his voice carrying clearly across the rooftop despite the wind. The woman turned, startled, and Marcus saw a face that was young, probably early 20s, with eyes that held a pain so deep it made his chest ache. Tears had carved tracks down her cheeks, and her lips were blue with cold. "Please," Marcus said, taking a careful step closer. "Whatever's wrong, there has to be another way." The young woman, girl really, because up close she looked even younger, shook her head slowly. "You don't understand," she said, her voice barely audible over the wind. "There isn't another way. Not for me." Marcus took another step, his hands visible and open. "I'm Marcus. What's your name?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Sophia." "Sophia," Marcus repeated, letting her name hang in the air between them. "That's a beautiful name. How far along are you?" Sophia's hand moved instinctively to her belly. 28 weeks, she said, and her voice broke on the words. She's perfectly healthy, active. The doctor says she's going to be strong." "She?" A ghost of a smile crossed Sophia's face. "Isabella. I was going to name her Isabella." "That's beautiful, too," Marcus said, taking another step closer. Sophia didn't move away, which he took as a good sign. "Sophia, I know we don't know each other, but would you mind telling me what's brought you up here tonight?" Sophia was quiet for so long that Marcus thought she wouldn't answer. When she finally spoke, her words came out in a rush, as if a dam had broken. "I'm 22. I was supposed to graduate from nursing school next month, but I got pregnant and my boyfriend left. My parents, they kicked me out when they found out I wasn't going to marry him or give the baby up for adoption. I've been living in my car for 3 weeks, and I lost my job at the clinic because I kept falling asleep during my shifts." She wiped her nose with the back of her hand, the gesture heartbreakingly young. "I applied for assistance, but they said it could take months to process. I went to shelters, but they're all full and the waiting lists. I tried everything, Marcus. I tried so hard to make this work." Marcus felt his throat tighten. Here was someone facing real crisis, real desperation, while he'd been wallowing in professional disappointment. "I can't bring a baby into this," Sophia continued, her voice growing stronger with conviction. "I can't raise her in a car or on the streets. She deserves so much better than I can give her. If I'm not here, maybe she'll have a chance. Maybe someone will adopt her, give her the life I can't." "Sophia, no," Marcus said firmly, moving closer still. "That's not how it works. If something happens to you, it happens to Isabella too. But more importantly, you're not seeing all your options right now. When we're in crisis, our vision narrows. We can't see past the immediate problem." "What would you know about it?" Sophia asked, not with anger but with genuine curiosity. "You're wearing a $1,000 suit. You probably live in a penthouse somewhere." Marcus looked down at his expensive clothing, a armor of success that felt increasingly meaningless. "You're right. I don't know what it's like to be homeless and pregnant and alone. but I do know what it feels like to think you've run out of options. I just came up here from a meeting where I learned that my company is going bankrupt. Tomorrow, I have to fire over 200 people who trusted me with their careers." Sophia studied his face, seeming to really see him for the first time. That's terrible. But it's not the same thing." "No, it's not," Marcus agreed. "My problems are professional. Yours are about survival, about the life you're carrying. But Sophia, here's what I've learned about being in business. There's always another option. Always. Sometimes we just can't see it from where we're standing." "Like what?" Sophia asked, and Marcus heard something in her voice that hadn't been there before, a tiny spark of hope that she was trying hard not to feel. Marcus took a deep breath, making a decision that surprised even him. "Like this. Come down from this roof with me. Let me buy you a warm meal and we'll figure out your options together. I can't solve everything, but I can make sure you and Isabella have a safe place to sleep tonight." "I can't pay you back," Sophia said quietly. "I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to give yourself and your daughter a chance." Sophia looked down at the street again, then back at Marcus. "Why do you care? You don't even know me." Marcus thought about this, trying to find words for something he couldn't quite explain himself. "Maybe because I believe that how we treat each other in our worst moments says something about who we really are. Maybe because I have sisters, and I'd want someone to help them if they were in your situation. Or maybe because I think Isabella deserves to know her mother." Sophia's hand moved to her belly again, and Marcus saw her expression soften slightly. "She moves a lot at night," Sophia said softly. "Like she's trying to tell me something." "Maybe she's telling you to fight for both of you." Sophia took a step back from the edge, then another. Marcus felt some of the tension in his chest ease, but he didn't move toward her yet, giving her space to make her own choice. "If I come with you," Sophia said carefully, "what happens then? I mean, after tonight, I still won't have a job or a place to live or any way to take care of a baby." Marcus considered this. "Then we figure it out, one step at a time. But Sophia, I need you to understand something. You're not as powerless as you think. You're 22, you're almost a nurse, and you've survived 3 weeks of homelessness while growing a healthy baby. You're stronger than you know." Sophia was quiet for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Okay," she said. "Okay, I'll come with you." As they walked toward the rooftop door, Marcus felt his phone buzzing with what he knew were more calls from creditors, lawyers, and worried employees. His company was still failing, his professional life was still in ruins, but somehow none of that seemed as important as it had an hour ago. 3 hours later, Marcus sat in an all-night diner watching Sophia eat her second helping of soup and grilled cheese. The color had returned to her cheeks, and she'd wrapped herself in the extra jacket he'd grabbed from his car. They'd talked about practical things, shelters with shorter waiting lists, pregnancy assistance programs he could help her navigate, potential jobs that would work with her school schedule. "I still don't understand why you're helping me," Sophia said, looking up from her soup. "I mean, I'm grateful, but you have your own problems." Marcus stirred his coffee, thinking about her question. "Do you want the honest answer?" Sophia nodded. "I think I needed to be reminded that there are problems bigger than mine, and that sometimes the best way to find hope for yourself is to help someone else find it first." Sophia smiled, the first real smile he'd seen from her. "That's very philosophical for someone whose company is going bankrupt." "Maybe bankruptcy is making me philosophical," Marcus said with a wry grin. "But Sophia, I want to tell you something. I meant what I said about figuring this out together. I may not be able to save my company, but I can make sure you and Isabella have what you need." "I can't let you—" "You can't stop me," Marcus said gently. "Look, I'm probably about to lose most of my money anyway. At least this way, some of it goes to something meaningful." Sophia was quiet for a moment, then said, "What if I told you there might be a way to help both of us?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Sophia pulled out her phone and showed him a news article. "Is this your company? Thompson Digital Solutions?" Marcus looked at the screen and winced. It was an article about his company's financial troubles, complete with speculation about what had gone wrong. "Unfortunately, yes." Sophia studied the article, then looked back at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Marcus, I need to tell you something. My last name is Castellanos. The name hit Marcus like a physical blow. Castellanos, as in Castellanos Venture Capital, one of the largest investment firms on the West Coast. As in the company his father had founded before his death 5 years ago. As in, Marcus started. As in my father was Eduardo Castellanos, Sophia said quietly. As in I'm the heir to about $2 billion that I can't touch until I'm 25 or... She paused, placing her hand on her belly. Or until I have a child. Marcus stared at her, trying to process what he was hearing. You're Sophia Castellanos? The missing Castellanos heir. There have been news stories about you. Sophia nodded. I ran away from boarding school 2 years ago because I couldn't stand the pressure, the expectations, the way everyone treated me like a trust fund instead of a person. I've been living under a fake name, trying to make it on my own. When I got pregnant, I realized I could access my inheritance to take care of Isabella, but you were afraid you weren't strong enough to handle that world, Marcus finished. Exactly. Tonight on that roof, I was thinking that maybe it would be better if Isabella went to adoptive parents who could love her without all the complications of the Castellanos name and fortune. Marcus leaned back in his chair, the irony of the situation almost overwhelming. So let me get this straight. I just talked a billionaire heiress off a roof, and she was considering suicide partly because she didn't want to deal with inherited wealth. When you put it like that, it sounds pretty ridiculous, Sophia admitted. Not ridiculous, complicated. But Sophia, don't you see? You have the resources to not just take care of yourself and Isabella, but to make choices about how you want to live. You could finish nursing school, start a foundation, help other young mothers in crisis, whatever feels meaningful to you. Sophia was quiet, considering this. And you could have an investor, she said finally. What? I've been reading about your company while you were ordering dessert. Your technology is solid, your team is talented, and your vision is exactly the kind of thing my father would have supported. You don't need to shut down. You need better funding and maybe some guidance about scaling sustainably. Marcus felt something that might have been hope stirring in his chest. Sophia, you can't make business decisions based on gratitude for one evening. I'm not, Sophia said firmly. I'm making a business decision based on research and intuition, and maybe a little bit on the fact that someone who talks strangers off rooftops is the kind of person I'd want as a business partner. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the renovated offices of Thompson Digital Solutions, watching through the conference room window as Sophia, now 6 weeks postpartum, led a presentation to potential new clients. Isabella slept peacefully in a carrier beside her mother's chair, occasionally making soft sounds that made the entire room of executives smile. Sophia had indeed accessed her inheritance, but she'd done it on her own terms. She'd finished nursing school, started a foundation for young mothers in crisis, and become an active investor in companies that aligned with her values. Thompson Digital Solutions had been her first investment, but not her last. She's remarkable, said Jennifer Walsh, the company's new CFO, joining Marcus by the window. 6 weeks after giving birth, and she's already revolutionizing how we think about work-life balance. Marcus nodded, watching as Sophia fielded questions with the same calm intelligence she'd shown that night on the roof. Isabella had indeed been born strong and healthy, just as the doctor had predicted, and she seemed to thrive on the gentle chaos of an office that now accommodated employees with children, flexible schedules, and the understanding that life didn't stop happening just because you were at work. You know what I think about sometimes? Marcus said to Jennifer. If I hadn't gone up to that roof that night, if I just stayed in the office feeling sorry for myself. But you did go up there, Jennifer pointed out. And you saw someone who needed help more than you needed to wallow. Marcus smiled. Sometimes I think she saved me more than I saved her. Through the glass, Sophia caught his eye and smiled, lifting Isabella slightly so he could see the baby's alert, curious expression. In 6 months, they'd built not just a successful business partnership, but a friendship based on the understanding that sometimes the most important moments in life happen when we stop focusing on our own problems long enough to see someone else's. The company was thriving. Sophia was building the kind of life she'd dreamed of, and Isabella was growing up in a world where her mother's strength and compassion were more important than her trust fund. It was, Marcus reflected, a better outcome than any of them could have imagined on that cold night when two desperate people found exactly the hope they'd been looking for in the most unexpected place. Each other's courage to keep fighting for tomorrow.